Hi, I'm Bob Gimlin. I stumbled upon some alleged UFO photos taken on June 13th of 2021 from Montello, Wisconsin. The still photographs and backstory were posted on a channel called HomeSteadHow, and the photos were taken by the channel's producer. The channel is largely about basic homesteading, family, and photography. The channel is not about the paranormal or cryptids or UFOs. The photographer and witness said that he has been setting up his camera to capture the Milky Way, or the night sky in general. And it seems he's been doing a pretty good job of it. He's using a 20 million megapixel camera, so it's probably something like this Nikon. And I'll invite him to my comment section to clear up anything I get wrong, should he have the desire to do so. And I kindly thank him for his permission to use. Anyway, the camera was on a tripod, and at about 9 p.m., he says he heard what sounded like an engine when he saw the light in the sky. He shifted the tripod to get a better view, and you can see here on his monitor how the orientation changed, before and then after the object appears. He manually snapped 4 shots before it zipped away. Now, when I first saw this, I absolutely thought it was nothing more than a spotlight. You know, the type that car dealerships or mall openings will use sometimes. And I did a bit of an eye roll, and I thought the photographer was likely being deceptive, because you can see what can only be described as a beam of light tracking the thing, as if it's simply light being cast from a spotlight. But then I noticed a couple of things. The beam that leads to the sphere seems brighter near the subject in question than it does to the ground, which does sort of indicate that the light originates from the sky and not from the ground. But I suppose a few factors could affect that. But another reason I don't think it's a spotlight is because these spotlights, or light cannons as they're sometimes called, tend to keep going until they hit clouds, or otherwise eventually dissipate if unobstructed. But this orb doesn't seem to be hitting anything. And moreover, to achieve such a bright focal point, I think the beam would have to be much stronger than it seems to be. In short, for the sphere to be so bright, the adjoining light would have to be much stronger. I don't know, but it does kind of look like the light is coming from the circle as opposed to the ground. There's no way to be sure, of course, but that's what it looks like to me. Look at how thick and obvious the beams are in this spotlight footage. I looked through dozens of spotlight videos online, and none of them look anything like the object in question. For the subject in question to be this bright, I think the beams themselves would have to be far brighter. But then what really did me confused was when the photographer blew up the photo.
And then we're going to click crop, and we're going to go in closer to see what it looks like closer. So we're going to crop like that. If nothing else, this was a cool shot. You can see the house and the stars. Okay, yeah. Crop.
Oh, what the heck?
It looks like a
There's little lights. There's little lights.
I'll show this on the screen too. Here, I'm gonna take a screenshot.
Oh
Right
my
now.
gosh, Baxter, freaking move!
Taking a screenshot right now, so I'll show that in the video.
That is not a spotlight. Nope. It has what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 lights? 8 red lights? Now to be fair, I don't get that result when I zoom in. But I downloaded the video file using a free YouTube to MP4 website that's essentially just one big virus. And the download was at 720 resolution, I think. And obviously every time data is moved, information is lost. In this case, from his camera to his video editor to YouTube to the free virus download website to my editor and back to YouTube for your viewing pleasure. So the file I'm using is literally only a fraction of the PNG that came directly from his camera. But, I was actually really pleased to get any red. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting to get any red at all. So that's at least some kind of proof of concept that this blow-up did in fact come from the thing hovering above his house. So that was kind of exciting. Usually things are as bad or worse than I think they're going to be, but in this case, I think that red kind of is a little bit of proof of concept. But as in all things, there's a chance he's being disingenuous. But I don't think he is. And let me tell you why. This was taken in Montello, Wisconsin, and quite frankly, I always have my feelers out for such things, because that's not terribly far from where I am. And honestly, I see weird stuff in the sky all the time, and I have for many years. About 10 years ago, I saw a triangular craft hovering above a tree line at about 2 a.m. Mind you, this was long before I had a YouTube channel. I took footage of it with my BlackBerry Style, which was, is, and always will be the greatest phone ever conceived. I've even kept the phone for all these years just because the video is on it, but the thing won't operate beyond its loading screen, but that's not its fault. So that's kind of a bummer. The footage obviously isn't anything particularly mind-blowing or compelling, but it is indeed a solid triangle with red lights on each point, and an obvious dark silhouette of what was clearly the hull or body of the craft. I watched them there with a friend for almost 20 minutes, and then another one appears briefly next to it, and then immediately after, they both disappeared. They didn't fly off, they vanished. So that kind of started my interest in the night skies, and that interest can lead to some interesting places. And why I like to give things like this the benefit of the doubt, because I have no explanation for what I saw that night. I'm a proud, insomniatic midnight gazer. I spend a great deal of time looking into the night sky, and into the dark forest. I saw the SpaceX satellite train go over my town just a few weeks ago. That's May of 2021, depending on when you're watching this video. One of the biggest air shows in the world takes place relatively near me, so for a few days every year, I see all sorts of crazy aircraft performing spectacular feats. Every once in a while, unfortunately, I see the Flight for Life helicopter. I'm not particularly near any big cities, so I have relatively low light pollution. I'm not in nowhere, Utah, but my sky is clearer than most people's, in terms of population density at least. So I'm used to seeing shooting stars and satellites with some frequency. But every once in a while, I see something odd. Not completely unlike what this gentleman captured. And for full disclosure, and for all the people who will demand to know why I don't film any of it, I want to say that my best camera is a Canon camcorder. I don't know much about cameras, so I couldn't tell you why, but it's great for the woods, but damn near useless for the night sky. Again, I don't know why. Maybe someone in the comment section can enlighten me. I'm not quite sharp enough for that kind of thing, but my camcorder is basically useless for that. I think it's also worth noting that the photographer left his camera on that night to take intermittent stills for the rest of the night, and in the morning he found the camera and tripod knocked over a few feet from where it had been set up. He didn't say the object and the tripod being knocked over are related. They probably aren't, but he said that never happened before, so it certainly seems worth noting at least. I think in the beginning of this video, I called these photos of a, quote, alleged, unidentified flying object. But come to think of it, it's not alleged. This is definitionally an unidentified flying object. I don't know what this is. And on the subject of not knowing what things are, I analyzed some alleged Bigfoot footage recently, and I received hundreds of comments saying something to the effect of, LMAO, LMAO, you think that's a Bigfoot, LMAO, LMAO. Well, actually, I never said that was a Bigfoot, nor did I say I think it's a Bigfoot, though I do go over how it's Bigfoot footage because that's what some people are calling it. But what I really wasn't expecting was how many people said something to the effect of, obviously a bear. That seems to be the prevailing wisdom of the comment section anyway. And I found that to be an interesting paradigm about our psychology. I don't think this is a bear at all, and I didn't when I first saw it. And, well, honestly, I don't think it's a Bigfoot either. But it sure doesn't seem like a bear to me. Bears are very circular, and they're not really shaggy in the way that we see here. I'm not saying bears can't be shaggy, but this seems different. In fact, in the video itself, I think I described the subject's fur as feathery, which brings me to what one viewer commented. He said that some years ago, a bunch of emus escaped a farm, and some were never captured, and it's been speculated that they're even breeding. If I were a betting man, I'd say this is an emu. And before you get upset, I say emu. I know some people say emu. But I find it interesting that hundreds and hundreds of people, in all their armchair omnipotence, say it's obviously a bear. But I don't think that's what it is at all. All I mean to say is that, just because you know what something isn't, doesn't mean you know what it is. So I don't know what this is. I do know that strange things are in the skies these days. And I figure they have been since long before the Wright brothers and the Kitty Hawk. Anyway, this was just a quick impromptu video. Feel free to leave your 2 cents in the comment section. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to keep updated. and click the bell for notifications if you are subscribed, because I promise I haven't forgotten about our big hairy friend, and I have some pretty crazy stuff on that matter to come in the not-too-distant future. Anyway, again, and as always, thanks an awful lot for listening.